So recently, President Biden demonstrated that he's got a tight five. He did a dinner wherein he heckled Fox for the Dominion suit, and it went about as well as you could hope. To the point, I mean, the jokes landed. I believe my favorite was, I was gonna play it. I don't have the clip. Oh, you know what? How about this? Yeah, the jokes landed, and my favorite of them was certainly, I'll just tell you, the line, NBC News owned by NBC Universal and Fox News owned by Dominion Voting Systems. Ooh. Ooh. Brutal. Even better, in my humble opinion, though, was Mehdi Hassan discussing it. Here's Mehdi talking about it. Brutal. Here we go.
Good evening, Ayman.
Mehdi, it's great to see you as always, my friend. I really enjoyed the commentary there on the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night. Unfortunately for me, I drew the short end of the stick, and I actually had to cover and report on it. I got to watch it, but you were there. Tell us a little bit about it. What was your big takeaway?
I mean, there was some good humor, Ayman, this year. Whatever you think of the politicians and the event itself, and people have mixed opinions, certainly there were some good gags, and not just from Roy Wood Jr., who was the comedian there specifically to entertain, but the president, Joe Biden, had some very good lines. He went for some very easy targets. I enjoyed his gags at Fox's expense, I'll admit it. I mean, I think we have a clip. Let's play a clip of Joe Biden on Fox.
Good.
The cable news networks are here tonight. MSNBC owned by NBC Universal. Fox News owned by Dominion Voting Systems. Last year, your favorite Fox News reporters were able to attend because they were fully vaccinated and boosted. This year, with that $787 million settlement, they're here because they couldn't say no to a free meal.
Ayman, what you didn't see in that clip, you saw some of the cutaways, people smiling and laughing. There were no cutaways to the Fox tables. And I happened to be on an MSNBC table that was right next to the Fox table where Suzanne Scott, Fox CEO, was sat with Kellyanne Conway, Bill Barr, and others. And it was stony-faced silence throughout. Every time Biden or Roy Wood made a gag about Fox, we all turned to look at the Fox table. And in fact, Susan Scott, who somehow survived, there was talk that Rupert Murdoch would throw her under the bus. Instead, they threw Tucker Carlson under the bus. She actually got up and walked out after the Biden comment. She didn't stay for the Roy Wood roast of her network. Funny that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of like the State of the Union where the Republicans never stand up when Joe Biden says something good, and the Democrats never stand up when the Republican president says something. But you know what was also a big takeaway for me, Mehdi, was, and I really appreciate the Correspondents' Dinner because it celebrates the First Amendment. It is incredible to hear that kind of roasting of powerful elite happen in real time. And you heard the president also talk about the importance of journalists. He talked about, the Wall Street Journal that's detained in Russia. He talked about how he was going to fight for the freedom of journalists in Iran and Russia and elsewhere, and that journalism is not a crime. And I thought that's great. That is a very important message to be delivered. What stood out to me, though, was it was a missed opportunity for him to renew calls for the accountability in the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, a Palestinian-American journalist who was killed, by Israeli soldiers doing her job in the West Bank. It seems like the administration has kind of taken their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, trying to seek accountability. And I think we have a little bit of that last night. Listen.
Our message is this: journalism is not a crime. Evan and Austin should be released immediately, along with every other American held hostage or wrongfully detained abroad. This time last year, we were praying for you, Brittany, hoping you knew how hard all of us who are fighting for your release, it's great to have you home.
Just for the record, the Brittany Griner imprisonment really grated on me, and I do want to stress how happy I am that she's back home. But I agree with these cats here. We have selective blindness in the U.S., and what we need is courage.
What I found interesting about that, Eamon, that clip with Joe Biden there, is that he singles out named people who we should all campaign for, including Evan in Russia, Austin in Syria, Brittany Griner, of course, not a journalist, but detained in Russia. And as you say, names that are missing. Shireen Abu Akleh, an American citizen, journalist killed by the Israelis. The FBI opened an investigation 6 months ago. Haven't heard anything on that. She was killed almost a year ago. Nothing from Biden on her. Not just Shireen Abu Akleh, Julian Assange, Eamon. Like, you can have whatever views you have of Julian Assange. I'm not a fan of him personally. But what he's being extradited or attempted to be extradited and prosecuted for is publishing things that we needed to know about war crimes in Iraq and elsewhere. So if you're going to say journalism is not a crime, you're going to have to talk about people like Shireen Abu Akleh in the Middle East, and you are going to have to talk about whether you like it or not people like Julian Assange.
You're going to have to celebrate the First Amendment rights of the press to be able to report on everything, even if we don't like where they're reporting, what they're reporting about, and who is reporting.
All in all, a fantastic event. Shannon Kalhoff says Roy and Joe crushed it. Yes. The anti-corporatist says you should do a little 5-second animation that makes fun of the NBC, the more you know, St. Paul, and what you can do. Oh, yes. Yes. The anti-corporatist says WYCD brings up the country station in Detroit. Oh. All right. I'm gonna have to keep that struggle going. I'm gonna beat that country station, GD it. In fact, dealing with country stations in Detroit has been the bane of my existence since road tripping days in Michigan. Y'all are right. I'm gonna have to outbrand them. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. But that was a fantastic correspondence dinner. You're right, Roy and Joe crushed it. And why are Democrats generally funnier? Well, because comedy speaks to truth. And of course, the Democrats have a natural advantage there. Not as much as progressives, but still.